Hi, everybody. Welcome to the tallest episode of Pockets Full of Soup ever. That's right. My chair is ridiculously tall.
Yeah, and mine's not as tall.
So, actually, Mark is taller than me in
Yeah.
real life.
That's why we gave you the tall chair, but it didn't matter. It made you super tall anyway.
Yes. Now, so I am tall. I am the tallest of them all, like Yertle the turtle.
I'm finally not the tallest.
You
I'm
familiar? Yeah.
Very excited. No,
You familiar
I don't
with
know what
Yertle
that
the
is.
turtle?
No, I'm not.
He's a Dr. Seuss book. And,
Okay.
My favorite Dr. Seuss story is
Sweet.
Yertle the turtle. Yeah, he was the king of all that he saw.
So you're happy to be what you are.
I am, but
Okay.
things ended badly for Yertle.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a story. It's actually a very
Oh,
subversive
no.
story. It's kind of wonderful. Well, he kind of deserved it.
It's a weird Dr. Seuss book.
No, it's great. No, Dr. Seuss was he was really, really subversive dude. Like, he was teaching all kinds of lessons about nonconformity and
Sure.
Yertle the turtle is one of the best ones. Yertle the turtle built a tower made of other turtles. Like he made them
Rude.
stand on top of each other, and he was on top. And because he was the king of all that he saw,
Yeah.
he kept having to build up higher and higher. There's one little turtle at the bottom. He just keeps complaining. His name's Max, and Max is like, "Hey, it's getting really heavy down here.
Yeah,
I kind of need a
well.
break." And Yertle's like,
I'm the king.
Yeah, I'm the king.
I'm not. I can't hear you. You're way down there.
But you know what happens?
What happens?
Max sneezes.
Oh, no.
And when Max
All
sneezes, the
comes-
entire tower comes crashing down.
Comes crashing down.
Like
yeah.
the proletarian. Max the turtle, proving the power of the common man. Showing where real power comes from, and that those who rule are propped up by those who serve, but they also serve at the whim and whimsy of a single sneeze.
We learned something today.
We did learn something. We're going to learn more, too, hopefully. Hi, welcome to Pockets Full of Soup, the world's #1 Dr. Seuss podcast. Yeah. No, this
And
is
tall.
Yeah, the Tallcast. I'm your host, Jared Petty. I'm here today with Mark Medina.
Hi.
Mark Medina, where
Hello.
do folks know you from?
I'm assuming IGN.
Yeah?
Like everybody before me.
Not all. They're not all IGNers, actually.
not all?
No, we're
Oh,
diversifying.
wait, no, I saw a few episodes. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
My bad.
You have failed us.
I know, especially since we don't know when this is going up yet. So
No, we don't. No, who knows?
it could be everybody.
It's 2031.
Finally. Yeah. So I work at IGN with you.
Yeah.
And we play a lot of video games. We have a lot of fun.
You have a neat job at IGN.
I do. It's pretty fun. I play video games and make cool videos. And when I see something fun, I'm like, hey, I want to share this with the internet. And it's a really cool job.
You capture a lot of gameplay.
Yes, I do.
It is a real cool job, and also very, very important to what we do. So today on Pockets Full of Soup, we're going to start with a question that we, always start with until I decide to change it. But before I ask it, I do want to thank our Patreon producer, Robert Nieder, whose generous support helps make this show possible. Thank you, Robert, so very much for
Thank
what you
you,
do.
Robert. He didn't prep me for that.
No.
I'm thanking you anyways.
Yeah, well, we want to thank Robert.
Yeah, Robert, thank you.
He helps make this happen. So
Sweet.
And indeed, thanks to all you guys for watching and listening.
Sure.
Let's jump right in.
Okay.
Tell me about somebody you're thankful for.
I knew you were going to ask that.
You did. How did you predict?
It's like every episode. I've watched them. Okay, so let's see. So what was the question again?
Yeah.
Who are you thankful for?
Tell me about somebody you're thankful for. Yeah.
So somebody I'm thankful for is going to be my nephew, Jackson.
Your nephew Jackson.
My nephew, Jackson, with
Okay.
an X.
With an X?
With an X.
How do you spell it? Jaxon?
Nailed it. That's how you spell it.
Jackson.
Jackson.
Wow. Okay, that's a groovy name. That's like part Mortal Kombat character.
Yeah, he's super cool, right?
Yeah.
It's like
that's-
Jax.
Yeah.
Jackson Alexander.
If he were like a Civil War general, he'd be like Stonewall Jackson, but with an X. You're kind of groovy there.
He's Jax from the motorcycle show.
Yeah.
I forget what it was called.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't-
He's like
knows?
Jack and Dexter. If you put them together, you get Jax
Yeah.
because there's an X in Dexter.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, Jax, your
Anyway,
nephew.
My nephew. So, what do you want to know? Where do people usually go?
Well, let's start here.
Sure.
The audience doesn't know who Jax, your nephew, is, other
Right.
than he's related to you somehow. So let's talk about where'd you meet Jax?
So, I met Jackson a week after he was born. And basically, the reason I'm thankful for him, the reason he has impacted me so much is because he was actually my foster child for
Really?
about 7 or 8 months. I don't know exactly, and I'll tell you why. So, so he went under mine and my wife's care, and it changed just a lot. And that's mainly why I'm thankful for him, is I feel like I'm a different person than I was a year ago because of him. You know, I've been with my wife for 13 years. We've been married for 9 of them. And for 8 of them, we had no children. And then all of a sudden, we had a child. And we had a week's notice.
Okay, so this begs a lot of questions. So I'm going to have a lot of follow-ups here.
Sure.
First, how old was Jax when he came into your care?
So he was 1 month old, pretty much to the day when he came into our care.
Okay.
Yeah. And we had pretty much nothing. We went and, did the processing for him to come into our care. And they were like, okay, we'll let you know by tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And we had nothing in our house. So then
Where were you living at the time?
So I was living at home. I'm from the Central Valley of California, which is so I lived in a town called Hanford, which is right by Fresno.
So rural California. Then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very
were you
hot.
and your wife both from that town?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
I was born in Kansas. She was born in Hanford, but I've lived in Hanford my whole life, and so is she.
So a small California town, not the L.A. California you think of in the movies, or the San Francisco California
The
that you think
hot,
of.
dry fields everywhere.
Yeah, not the California you necessarily think of if you're not from here.
No.
So they're in a small town together, and your nephew comes into your care. Now, I have to ask, how did this come to be?
So I won't go into a ton of detail,
Okay.
but obviously it was a protective services case.
Okay.
So, and that's why he was then given to us. And we didn't know how long we were going to have him. We were first told 2 or 3 weeks. Then we were told it could possibly be forever. Then we were told it would be months and months, and we had no idea. So we...
No, wait a minute. 2 or 3
Go ahead.
weeks, then forever, then...
Right.
But you're sitting there in a situation, something's happening, and you and your wife, who have no kids and are living in how large a space?
Just, like the size. We're in my apartment right now. This is basically the size of my apartment back home.
So like a small 2-bedroom apartment. Where were you working?
I was a technician for a Fry's Electronics.
Okay,
so it's like a retail store, but I worked in their warehouse, basically. Fixed video game consoles.
Okay, so you were a technician. Your wife was working...
She worked at Fry's Electronics.
Okay.
She worked in the office part of that same warehouse.
Okay, so you both worked in a warehouse for a retail chain.
Yes.
At that point. In the town there together, living in a small apartment, 8 years, no kids, and...
Working the same amount of hours, 40 hours a week, same time. We drove in together. We came home together.
And in a very quick period of time, you find out, hey, you maybe needed to keep this very small child.
Yes.
And it might be for a few days, but maybe it will be forever.
Yes.
And do you just have to sign off on that in that moment? How does that work?
That's when you ask yourself, do we sign off on it? Do we agree to do this? And the answer was, of course. We agreed to do it. So
now you say of course. That's a pretty big decision for of course. How did that discussion go?
Well, my wife loves children and has wanted children, and it was when we got married at 19, she told me if we don't have a kid by 21, 22, there's going to be problems.
So you were 19 years old when you got married.
We were 19 when we got married.
Wow.
Then 21, 22 came around, and I had bounced around a few jobs. She worked at Target. She worked there for 8 straight years or 7 straight years. And then, then it was like, well, by the time I'm 24, and then it was 25 and 26, and now we're 28. But this was when we were 27, and
still no kids to come along.
Still no kids, because it was one of those things where they say if you wait till you're financially stable to have children, you'll never have children. But it was like we knew we weren't financially stable to have children, so we didn't have children.
But then a situation comes along, and very suddenly you make a decision, and it's based on... Did you make this decision based on your desire to have a child in the house? Did you make it based on where would Jackson have gone if it wasn't you?
Right, so he would go into, a foster house.
Okay, a foster house unconnected with the family.
Unconnected with the family, right?
So you knew Jackson ahead of time. You'd known him since
this was a baby
he'd been
my
around.
wife had held, and we had visited and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden it was like, he's in foster care. Do you guys want him?
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah.
Okay. So you make that decision. So tell me what it's like. I mean, where did you... do you go to how does the baby pickup work?
We get a call the next morning, and they're like, we're gonna let you know in like a couple hours. We're like, okay. So I'm at work and I'm just like checking my phone like every 5 seconds because it's a loud place. And finally they call and I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. Leave. Go and pick him up.
Just tell your boss, I gotta go. I gotta go pick up my new baby.
Well, I had already told him,
Yeah,
this is what's happening, and it's probably going to happen today. So I'm out of here the second they call. He was like, okay. So basically what we did was we're still in good contact with my sister.
Okay.
So she basically gave us his stuff.
So Jackson's mother gave you his
bassinet, clothes, bottles, whatever she had,
whereupon
was now in my apartment.
Okay, and where was Jackson at that point?
So he wasn't with us yet. This was, a couple days before.
Yeah.
So then,
you got the place ready. You get the call.
Yeah, the place is ready. We got the bassinet set up. All of a sudden, in my apartment, there's baby stuff.
Yeah.
Next to my gaming PC and my PlayStation 4, there's baby toys.
Yeah.
Very weird. And so I go and get him. And I instantly went on vacation. So I had a week vacation built up.
All right.
Saved for that moment.
And that became learn how to be a dad. So let me start here. I'm sure you've been thinking about kids. You and your wife got married when you were 19 years old.
Yes.
Very young.
Very
You're
young.
saying you wanted to have kids when you were young. Very important to both of you. When you're 22, you had years to think about what having children was going to be like.
Yeah.
What was the first surprise?
Man, they cry a lot.
You didn't expect that part?
I don't know. It's like when I was with him, he wasn't crying. When I was with him, he wasn't crying.
Oh, when you were visiting him.
Every time I visited him, he was good.
He's just like, hey, I'm a tiny baby. I'm doing fine.
Turns out they cry a lot and go to the bathroom a lot.
Okay, so let's talk about those two things. First, the crying. So you bring him home.
Yeah, so I bring him home, and I'm like, I text Amanda, and I'm like, hey, I'm here at home with the baby. I'll come pick you up in like an hour because she hadn't got off work yet.
Okay.
And I'm just like sitting there, and I'm just like, he was like asleep, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like I didn't know what to do with myself, so I was just like on Facebook. And then I'm like he wasn't crying instantly. That was just,
you know what? You're like
things,
holding the baby, and you're like on Facebook. Are you like Dr. Spocking, or what? Are you just like?
I'm
like,
just like,
help,
I'm
what
just like,
do I do
don't
with
know
this
what
small
to do.
person?
Like, yeah, so I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Okay.
Except for just watch him exist.
Yeah. You're like, well, here's a baby. Yeah, because again, he's how old? You said
1 month.
1 month. So not exactly like Jackson's developed a great deal of personality.
Not yet.
He's kind of a tiny.
He's not much. He wasn't one for conversation.
At that age, they're just past the tiny raisin person stage, right?
Right.
Yeah, and
Right.
Very small. You're there with him, and he's crying a lot.
And so in that first hour or so, I was fine. But then it becomes. Yeah, so then we have him that day. Everybody comes over. My mom, her parents, everybody comes over. This whole like baby meet and greet, I guess. And then, even though they had all met him, and so we're like, okay, this is cool. Like, and then everybody leaves.
Yeah.
How dare they?
And it's just you again.
And it's just me and Amanda.
Yep.
And he's up every hour.
Yeah.
And it was like that for 8 months.
It's just like that was the beginning of 8 months of not more than 1 hour of interrupted sleep.
Yep. So
Okay.
we
and you just didn't realize it was going to be like
we did not realize that that's what it would be. Like literally, you lay down and next thing you know, he's going again, and you're just like, okay, I'm back up.
How did that affect your perception of what was going on? Like
so
you're
after
like,
after my first week, after my week, we like he would go to various babysitters. Eventually, we're like, this isn't going to work. Amanda's going to have to.
This is after your week of vacation.
After my week of
when
vacation.
you realize, okay, so we're back. We got this baby. So somebody's going to keep him during the day when one or the other of us is at work.
Well, we both worked at the same hours.
Okay, so you
Was
have
the
this.
issue.
So you have
So
like a 9-hour
babysitters-
window that you got to have a
Right.
but you got to pay a babysitter.
So then eventually we're like, well, luckily we had a few volunteers.
Okay, that's a good start.
So we got a babysitter. So yeah, he was a tough. I will say, at the beginning he was a tough baby, and it was a learning experience. But it definitely changes you. You go from like, what video game am I going to buy next? How am I going to do this? I'm going to spend money on my car. Like I had just like bought new headlights for my car, and that was $300, and I'm like, I couldn't even imagine spending that money now.
Yeah.
Like I have a kid now, And
Suddenly,
you get money and stuff like that, but it's not right away, and it's not a lot. And
and it's
so
meant to make his life better,
right.
not yours and your
And it's
wives in
usually
in
not
a
enough.
material way. Yeah.
Well, so then what happens next is Amanda has to quit her job because the babysitting thing just wasn't working out.
Yeah.
And she's calling in a lot. I'm not able to go in today, so eventually we're just like, you're gonna have to quit.
Okay.
That's the only answer.
So suddenly you have a new infant baby.
Yep.
You're not getting any sleep.
Yeah.
Baby goes to the bathroom a lot, like you mentioned
He
earlier.
does.
That does happen, and
Sure.
that requires
Probably about normal.
yeah,
What a baby would.
what a baby does. But baby got to go to the bathroom.
More than me.
And now you're on one income
Yeah.
from a technician's job in a warehouse.
Which is not very much. Barely
So-
over minimum wage.
So wow.
Yeah. We're not done yet.
Okay.
Then a week later,
Mm-hmm.
I get an email
Yeah.
from Mr. Brian Malkowicz.
Okay.
Person I had never met before in my life. Never heard of him.
For those of you that don't know, Mr. Brian Malkowitz of Ye Old IGN.
Yeah, he's one of our producers. He's
Yeah.
awesome. I get an email from this person I had never met saying, "Hey, we hear you've been applying at IGN. Do you want to come try to do a freelance project for us? Come work for 4 days up in the IGN office
Yeah.
and do this project." And I'm like, "Well, shoot, I forgot I had applied there."
Yeah, this is all from way earlier in this process
is
before all
from-
this
yeah,
happened, right?
exactly.
Okay. Now you're working in a warehouse. You've been working technicians work. Your
Yep.
wife's been working in retail. You're in a small town in California. You dreamed of doing something different.
Yeah.
You don't have a college degree at this point, right?
No.
Okay. And you've been sending in applications, doing good work, improving what you do.
Yeah, trying to somehow break into the industry that I love.
But then you have an opportunity to bring this young man into your life. You bring
Right.
him home, and then from before all that,
For
a call
from
comes.
3.5 years of trying.
A call
I
comes
get
like, "Hey, you want to come?" Yeah, and it's if you've never, if you're not familiar with the industry that we work in our day jobs at IGN, it is not easy to break in. That
It's
call,
not super easy. It's
that call is going to come once ever. Maybe
Maybe
in
never.
10,000 applications.
I
It's
thought
not common.
probably never.
Yeah,
I had tried applying
exaggeration.
over 2-3 years, you
Yeah.
know, and it was always nothing.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, something.
So, what in the world did I assume you and Amanda looked at each other.
So I go home and I'm just like, what do I do?
Uh-huh.
And she's like, for the most part, we assume this is going to be temporary.
Yeah.
She's like, you've been trying to work at IGN in the video game industry for 3 years. I guess you're going to go. I'll see you in 4 days. Luckily, I know somebody in San Francisco, my friend Joel. So I stayed with him, worked in the IGN office for 4 days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm done. And they're like, okay, if we have anything else, we'll let you know. And I
Now,
go
while
back
this is
home.
going on, your wife's staying home back in your hometown, which is how far away from San Francisco?
3.5 hours.
3.5 hours, and
Yeah.
she's there with Jackson.
She's there with Jackson.
How's Jackson during all this?
He's normal. He's good. My wife is great with kids,
Yeah.
luckily. So everything's good, except for she's just now having to do it by herself. That every hour of him waking up, she doesn't get to switch off anymore.
How'd
It's
that
her
work?
every single time. It was only for 4 days.
Right.
So luckily it wasn't too bad.
And you're crashing on a couch in somebody's living room.
Apartment in San Francisco,
Okay.
feeling not great because I'm like, here I am.
Let's talk about it. How are you feeling not great? Let's talk
Well,
about that.
because here I am in San Francisco, working at IGN, like walking around if people have been there, which I'm sure some of you have, the IGN office is great and it's quiet and it's a fun place to work. And then she's texting me and he's like, oh, he won't stop, whatever. And I'm going to my mom's because, he was tough when we first got him, or we just didn't, and so we just didn't know what to expect. And so it's kind of like,
Babies are kind of needy, huh?
yeah, and so I remember Thursday, the Thursday of that week, somebody was like, "Oh, we're all going," and I was like, "No, I'm not going anywhere because I'm not going to go have fun, knowing that she's probably going to be wanting to talk."
So you had a chance to hang out with these people, some of whom you
Was-
really admired.
Sure. Yeah.
And instead, the right thing to do, you felt.
I was like,
go
I'm just
home.
going to go home.
So you go home. What's it like when you first see Jackson when you get home?
So I finally get home. And yeah, it was very weird, like being home, and I'm like, you walk into your apartment because we'd only had him like month, or not a month, my bad, like a week and a half. So then you get home and you're
Oh
like,
my gosh! This all happened in
Yeah.
that short of time.
oh yeah, we got him, and then I got called 2 weeks later
Huh.
to go to IGN. Yeah,
So
it was
you got him.
very
Amanda
instant.
steps away from work, and you go to IGN all within like
And
this.
I go to IGN. It hasn't even been a month yet.
How did you two not have strokes?
I don't know. I don't know. So then I get home and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot we have a kid. Like, my apartment's in shambles.
So you come home, You come home and everything's different.
Yeah. So everything's different, and it's like I'm torn because I'm like, I'm happy to be home again. I'm happy to be back in my own home. I'm happy to see her and help her with the baby. I'm happy to see the baby. But then I did have a really good time working at IGN.
Yeah. Okay.
So then I'm just like, man,
But then
it's tough.
It's back to the warehouse.
Back to the warehouse.
It's back to Amanda being home. You guys are switching the shifts off again.
Yeah, we're switching the shifts. Everything's
During all this time, let's talk about Jackson for a minute.
okay.
Jackson's here for the whole story, but
Yeah.
let's talk about Jackson for a minute and what it's like raising him. What he is like during this period, because very small children, if you haven't been around them for any extended period of time, very different in the way they behave. The children, every
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
Something changes,
I know. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
For sure.
So during the first few months, Jackson, how do you see him change?
Well, that's the funny thing about having a baby is when you're seeing them every day. The story's about to change again, but I still want to answer. I want to answer this question.
Yeah.
The story's about to change again, but
No, we'll get there. Don't worry. We go back and forth a lot.
You see him every day, so to you, nothing's changing. And then a year later, now, he's a year and a couple months old. You look at pictures of when we first got him, and you're like, holy smokes.
Yeah.
He looks completely different.
But
where's his hair?
But when you're in it, you don't notice.
You really don't
as
notice.
much.
I don't know. You just don't. Like, to me, the way he looks now is the way he looked when I brought him home.
Just in your mind,
Yeah.
that's fascinating.
It's very weird.
So, were you there for any of his firsts?
We were there for a lot of firsts.
Like what?
So, let's see. So it's the first time he rolls over, or
Okay.
the first time he smiles and laughs and stuff like that, and you're like, is it a real smile or is it a baby smile? Like, who knows? And then like I remember one of the big ones was she Skype video messages me while I'm walking on Market Street, which if you've been to San Francisco, Market Street at 5 p.m. is the worst. And she's like,
Market Street at 5 p.m. is sort of like being in a Mad Max movie.
it is the worst. And I'm like holding my phone, and she's like, look, and then he's laying on his stomach and then rolls over, and you're like, oh man, like anybody could do that, but not him. You've never seen him do it.
It's just a
So
brand new thing. What was your
really
favorite
cool.
first for him? Was it that one or was
Yeah, it probably was. It probably was. Like, I would say, I know, I guess my favorite first was him learning to crawl, like getting in that crawling position and just like rocking back and forth, knowing that he knows what he wants to do, but can't figure out how to do it. Mm-hmm. And then when he finally does it.
So when he came into your house, he's your nephew.
Yep.
And you're taking him very suddenly in
Yeah.
strange circumstances, and then all these dynamic changes happen in your life very quickly with him, and then also what's happening in your career.
Yeah.
Do you, at that time earlier on, or over the course of that year, do you find yourself feeling more? Were you Jackson's uncle?
Yeah.
Or Jackson's
Yeah.
dad?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
How did you feel?
I don't know. That's a tough one. So, if I could speak for my wife, she would say, she was his mom. But for me, I guess it's not that I didn't feel connected to him, but I grew up with my sister, and I wanted him to go, be able to go home to his family. And so I thought to myself, I'm his uncle and his guardian protector. but then we didn't know, like, maybe we're going to keep him. And then it's like, I don't know. I just kind of told myself,
so
like,
to clarify,
that's when I'll become.
So there were conditions under which he might return to his birth family, and you were cognizant of those and hoped that things would work out in a way that everybody was able to have a good relationship with Jackson that was long lasting. Okay. So you have your tryout stint at IGN doing a freelance project.
Yes.
Then you come back. Jackson's there.
Yep.
Your wife is not at her job anymore. She's staying home with him.
Yeah.
You're working back in the warehouse.
Yep. And
things go back to normal or not?
Things go back to normal for 2.5 weeks.
Okay, so you're just like, da-dum. Okay.
My phone just went off. It's Darren Brazil.
Okay, now Darren Brazil, another
IGN person. And it's, hey, do you want to come work at IGN full time? So then it's like, and that was it.
Get the call.
So that was it. It was just, he was like, yeah, he's like, you would start about a week from now. We have to set up your desk and all that, but do you want to come work at IGN full time?
And again, to culminate, this is based on years of preparation before everything happened with Jackson.
It's like this was all supposed to happen 2 or 3 years before we ever had a kid, and then we would move up and then have a kid, and it's like, it just had to happen after.
So, Jackson's there. He's tiny. He doesn't sleep much. Cries a lot. Changes a lot. Babies at that age, they kind of eat. They kind of sleep. They kind of wake up. They cry. Go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Kind of do this.
There's also another part I'm leaving out.
So what else?
So we had Jackson for a week. And then I went to IGN, came back. And then we also got my niece.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Wait a minute. Is this Jackson's sister?
This is Jackson's sister.
Who is how old?
She's 15. So now...
So you leave, you come back 4 days later, and you have 2 children.
So now we have 2 children.
Living in your house.
So basically, we're going to go to bed for the night, and I get a phone call, and they're like, hey, Samantha's here. Do you want to come pick her up? And we're like, yeah, we're on our way.
So you've gone from the 2 of you having jobs in the small town you live in, living by yourselves, kind of doing your thing, to an invitation to go work at your dream job after years of work, your wife no longer at her job, and a newborn and a 15-year-old
and a 15-year-old girl. Which we even had less time to prepare for.
What was your mental state at this point? And what was Amanda's, your wife?
I was cool.
Really? Really?
I guess I'm just like, man, this is a lot. All right, well, time to go to work. I don't know. It was.
Did it take you and Amanda long to reach consensus on you going back to IGN?
Yeah, so, I mean, that was more of a discussion. So with the whole freelance thing, we're like, I'll be back in 4 days.
Yeah. And let's talk about the big move.
I'm wondering if she knew at that moment. So I didn't know if I would be coming back or not. But I'm wondering if she knew, because then I get that email. I talked to him on the phone, and I'm like, they want me to go work full time. And she's just like, just kind of like, well, okay.
Is that how it went? Okay.
That's basically how it went. We talked for a little bit. Obviously, there was a discussion, but it was just like how is it going to work? And we have this discussion about how it's going to work. I'm going to come home every single weekend. And that's what we did. And it was like, okay.
And is that the term, you're going to come home and then eventually you're going to work your way toward moving all you up there? Or were you planning on living down here and commuting every day?
So they can't move when they're foster children. They can't move. They have to stay in the county. So I'm moving, and you can move up here with me when the kids go back. When's that going to be? Who knows?
We don't know.
We have no idea.
And at this point, there's still the possibility that Jackson and Samantha are not going to go back. Right?
Well, Samantha could go back, but Jackson wouldn't be. What? So then it's just the whole dynamics of the whole thing. Like, she has a dad that she would then go with. But Jackson possibly wasn't going to be going back. So then, but if it came to that, then he would be allowed to move.
Okay, so there is an end game where you get to bring him along, but you just have to wait through that period.
Eventually, she's coming up with me, and it's either with a baby or with not.
Okay, that helps me understand. All right, thank you for that. And career-wise, the money's better, if I understand correctly. Taking the IGN job, that was a step up.
So career-wise, yes, but financially, not really, because now I'm staying in hotels or paying to stay in. I eventually found a place with somebody I'd just met on Craigslist, some girl named Jessica that I'd met on Craigslist.
Yeah.
My rent was $1,000 a month. My rent back home was $800 for my whole apartment.
Yeah.
And now Mark's in San Francisco paying $1,000 for one room.
Yeah.
But I made more, and so
Honestly, that's
we
a
made
pretty
it
good deal
work.
for San Francisco.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
It's a great deal for
Well,
San
it
Francisco.
was a super nice apartment. Everything was fine. So
Can I have that number?
unfortunately, she moved.
That's an incredible deal for San Francisco.
But it's just super weird because it's like, hey, like you're married and now your wife's at home with 2 kids and you live with a stranger you met on Craigslist.
Yep.
In San Francisco.
And you're coming home 3.5 hours each way every weekend.
Yeah, so I leave on Friday. I drive straight home. I get home at about 10 or 11 at night. And then we hang out, and then I go back up on Sunday.
Now, what's that like when it
I
comes
put a lot of miles on my car.
Let's talk about Jackson.
Sure.
Every week you're going away. And
Yeah.
every weekend you're coming home.
Yeah.
Amanda's up every night with him.
Yep.
So I have to ask, what's that doing to your relationship?
So it's one of those things where it would get rough sometimes because San Francisco, I had never lived in a city. I was used to getting in my car and just being where I needed to go. San Francisco, you're taking buses, you're walking a lot, whatever. So I'm in this foreign place and, I'm trying to figure things out. And so it'd be pretty rough. And then I'd get home and I'm like, it's the weekend. I'm out of San Francisco. I'm out of IGN. Like it's the weekend. And she's like, okay, cool. I'm going to go take a break
Yeah.
because I've had this baby all week and good, have fun.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying she completely abandoned me every weekend, obviously, but it wasn't like that. But it was a lot of, oh, Amanda, I'm home for the week. And she's like, okay, I've had this baby all week. So it's like, it's not,
I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
Your
I'm
turn.
super exhausted.
So both of you very, very tired and
Yeah.
not really seeing much of each other.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in all this, Jackson, how is he doing in this very dynamic situation? Is he healthy?
He's great.
How are things going with, if it's okay for me to ask, with social services at this point? Is there any progress toward whether or not a resolution on whether he's staying with you or going somewhere else?
Yeah, so eventually it gets to the point where you're getting told court dates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so nothing's happening until it's like, court date's 2 months from now. Okay. So nothing's going to happen in those 2 months. So luckily he's a baby. So he's just being a baby. He's cool.
He's doing all right.
He cries a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, he was a tough baby. But
So
we got through it, and
all
we'd
this
have walks and
stuff
it was
happens
fun.
in your life, all this dynamism, all this change, and then we're
Sure.
going to fast forward a little.
Okay.
At the end, you end up working out great at IGN, and
Thank you, Jared.
we're sitting in your apartment outside San Francisco with you and your wife,
We did it.
but Jackson isn't here.
Yeah.
At the beginning of this episode, I asked you, tell me about somebody you're thankful for.
Mm-hmm.
You told me an amazing story full of learning and change, easily the most transformative year of your life.
Sure.
It's an incredible amount of change in a short period.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you thankful for Jackson?
So I 2 years ago, if you nobody else can see, but if you look around my apartment, it's not the greatest thing ever, but we got a TV, we got a PlayStation, Xbox One, a gaming PC, and these are all things that we wanted, so we bought them. And that was just that. Oh, we wanted we'd go to Taco Bell at 1:00 in the morning because we were up playing video games and we wanted to make a Taco Bell run, and we were terrible with money, and then all of a sudden it's just like you just can't do those things anymore. And I'm thankful that I don't know. I guess that we're just different people now. Like
You're thankful because you changed priorities? I mean, it sounds kind of fun to be able to run out and buy an Xbox and a PS4 and a TV and when you wanted to
it
before.
is fun, but it also makes it where you never have money saved up and your apartment's a mess because you don't care if it's clean. When you have a baby, your apartment needs to be your house needs to stay somewhat clean. It's hard to do, but
Why is that important?
Well, they start crawling around and they start when they start crawling around, you can have a little piece of paper way over there and he will find it. They will find it and they will put it in their mouth.
Okay.
They will find anything. And then, social services comes over and they want to take a look at the apartment. They're not going to tell you when they're going to show up. They just show up. And so, I'm thankful for him because he made me a better person and made me realize that there are more important things than just doing for ourselves.
What are those things? What are the more important things?
Doing for a kid, a baby like him who might need it.
I'm glad you said that because this entire time you've told an amazing story. You've talked a lot about what happened, the incredible transformation. You've talked about the lessons of practicality, but I'm not sure you've put enough weight, thanks to your. And I think that some of this is your humility. You guys haven't talked an awful lot about about the fact that you just decided to take care of a baby that needed somebody and you felt like he'd be in better hands with you maybe than with strangers, that you wanted to hold a family together, that you wanted to, I feel like you're kind of selling yourself short here.
Well, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, is everything that's going on in everybody's life, me changing jobs, Amanda being tired or being sick, and his parents, social services is involved and all this stuff. None of that is his fault. Yeah. He's just a thing that exists now, and he needs you to take care of him. And so that's what it was I'm like, I'm exhausted, but I'm going home because, the baby needs us and Amanda needs me and Amanda needing me helps him because then it helps lower her stress and stuff like that. So it's just stuff like that. I would say I'm thankful for him because he's made me less selfish.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
So where is he, Mark? Because he's not here.
So he's back with his parents.
He's back with his parents. And is that a good thing now?
Yes, it's great. So Amanda's parents became very involved in his life. Obviously my parents are. And so it's he's back and I get tons of pictures of him all the time. Amanda just went home 2 or 3 weeks ago and visited him and took a bunch of pictures with him. And he's just free for us to see whenever we want.
He's in a good environment now?
Yeah, he's in a great environment and now we get to just buy him fun stuff. So it's a happy end.
What about what about that last day that he's with you?
So the last day that he's with me, was a Sunday because he went back on like a Tuesday. So I don't know. I try to not get choked up and stuff like that. It's not who I am. I'm cool. But no, I'm just joking. But it's one of those where I'm like, I end up making her cry because I'm just holding him and I'm just like, well, like I remember saying the words like it was an honor being your foster parent
to him
and to him because I knew that was pretty much the last moment that was I was about to get in my car and the next time I would see him, I wouldn't be his foster parent anymore. I was back to just being his uncle. And so it was. So basically I held him and I don't know, I guess so my parents were there and he kept I felt like he would just do this every time, but he kept like walking over, like he would crawl over and he was at this point when he went back where he can crawl up and stand by holding on to something, and he was like holding the door and everyone's like, oh, like he doesn't want you to leave, and then we talked about it after and my wife was like, I feel like he knew that was it, that I was leaving and by the time I came back, like that would be that. He would be back home, and I would just be back to being his uncle. If that's true or not, who knows? But
You said you try not to get choked up. You're cool.
but it was tough getting in the car and being like, I know he's going back, and then I remember. So then Tuesday, she was like, "Yeah, he's supposed to be going back at like 4. We're supposed to go drop him off," and she's a wreck. And then she goes and drops him off, and I was like, she'll be cool, and she wasn't very cool. And so then we get home the next weekend, and we're just like I come home that next weekend, and I'm just like, there's nothing to do.
You're sitting in an empty house.
We don't have an apartment. Like, yeah, it's just like our house is just empty now, and we didn't know what to do with ourselves because it's like everything's different. It had been in 8 months. For what seemed long while it was happening, all of a sudden it was just over, and we were just like, wow,
it was quiet.
It was very quiet.
I mean, what happened in that silence?
We went and visited him. Yeah. So for that,
your first quiet day.
We went and picked him up.
You went and picked him up. Is there any? That's funny. Is there any part of you that regrets that you didn't become his father in the long term?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, you worry about him a lot. And it's we try to make good financial decisions, and we know that we would be great parents, but that's not our decision to make, and that's not it's not up for us to decide. So it's like, if all of a sudden I got the phone call today, hey, can he come live with you? It'd be like, yeah, but it's not up to us, and he's happy where he is, and his parents love him. And that's good.
Last question for you before we move over to other things. If YouTube endures, and we suspect it will, one day he's going to be old enough to understand what's going on. He's going to see this. He's going to watch this.
Yeah.
You're going to be younger in this video than he's ever seen you or remembers you. And you're talking about him.
Yeah.
And he's watching right now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to say to him?
Well, it's I would hope that I wouldn't have to say anything to him, because I hope I can be with him while he's watching it.
That's cool. Yep. We're stopping it right there. That's great. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for telling that story. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Jared.
So we switch gears now over to Instant Noodles, a lightning round of questions that I'm sure you're familiar with by now.
Sure.
And before we do that, we want to remind our audience that you can send your questions, comments, and short. We try to keep them 140 characters. So thanks to mail@pocketsfullofsoup.com. That's mail@pocketsfullofsoup.com. Send yours in, and we may very well read them on the air. We always appreciate getting feedback from you there. So let's jump right in with this week's batch of Instant Noodles.
I love Instant Noodles.
Yep. Number one, my all-time favorite question, user submitted, and still my favorite. What is best sandwich?
What is best sandwich? Pastrami sandwich.
Oh!
From Togo's. Oh, my God.
Togo's?
Dude, I love Togo's.
Do you realize how angry you just made the entire
don't
city
even
of
care.
New York?
I don't even care. Oh, you want to talk about New York getting angry at me? So across the street from the IGN office is a place called Tony's Slice House.
Yeah.
And it's the worst. It is the worst.
I like Tony's Slice House.
Get on right out of here.
They're really good.
It's the worst pizza I've ever had in my life.
No, it's yummy.
I'm
The
told-
pepperoni's great. And don't you dare be mean. Masha, who works behind the counter, is my friend.
Dude, the people that work there are super nice.
Oh, they're great.
They serve me great meatballs because the pizza's the worst.
Pizza's great. Don't listen to this guy.
And I'm told, it's because it's New York style pizza. And I'm like,
Okay.
well then, I hate New York pizza.
Okay.
And I was with I was with Vince and I was with Mike Aransky, and they were not happy.
No.
So,
So I'm going to try to correct your ignorance that's on display here. First off, pastrami sandwiches are great, but
yes.
so I didn't think I liked New York style pizza either for a long time. Although I really love the pepperoni slice at Tony's. I think it's really good. I think it's a wonderful kind of New York style pizza.
Sure.
But I had never been to New York until a few years ago when I went
Okay.
for a business trip with Ryan McCaffrey, who's from the area, and he
Nice.
took me on a tour of the city.
Yeah.
It's like, Jared, I know what you're saying about the pizza. I know you say you don't like the New York style pizza, but you haven't had it. He said, we're going to walk down the street, and we're just going to point. Just pick a piece of pizza stand on the corner.
Yeah.
The oven in the back. The pizza's going to be $3, and it's going to be one of the best slices you ever put in your mouth.
Okay.
And we walked down the street, and there was a place just kind of sitting there half open with a pizza oven in the back. And we're like, how about there? We're going to go over there. Ryan's like, yeah, that place would be good. It's got the oven. You know, it's authentic. We sit down. The pizza's $3. That's one of the best slices I ever put in my mouth. Ryan was right. Now, I do prefer Chicago deep dish style pies
Okay.
to New York pizza.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is, but in New York, it's better.
It's just better.
Yeah, but I will not hear the noble name of Tony's besmirched on this fine program because they make good pizza.
Are you sponsored by Tony's?
No, I'm not sponsored. I like their pizza. It's really, really good. At least 10 pounds of this is Tony's Pizza. The tomato basil is really good, too.
So we don't have Togo's where I'm from, so that's new to me, and the pastrami sandwich is the best. So there
It's
you go.
really good.
What is best sandwich?
What is best
Togo's pastrami.
Togo's pastrami. What is the best song written in the last 100 years?
Oh, the best song written in the last 100 years. Oh man, that is a tough one.
Yep.
But I'm gonna say one of the most covered songs in the world, "Yesterday" by the Beatles.
Oh, you're not the first person to say that.
Really?
Yeah, that's come up before.
Oh, wow.
So this is actually the third Beatles song and the second "Yesterday." Now,
Really?
this is maybe not in. By the way, these air out of order, so who knows
Sure,
how that
sure,
actually
sure,
comes
sure.
out. But yeah,
I might be the fifth by
So-
then. It's a great song. There's a reason it's the most covered song in the world.
yeah, it's a fantastic
It's
song.
very, very good.
just about perfect.
Sure.
What's the first word you think of when you hear the sound of your own voice?
Deep.
Deep. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Butter pecan.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Really good, right?
That's good. I mean, ice cream.
You really can't go wrong, but butter pecan's super good.
Yeah, butter pecan's really great. That's why I like that. You know, it's like that movie, The Best of the Best. It's
Sure.
like the ice cream's already the best,
Yeah.
and then you pick the best ice cream.
It's like pizza.
Yeah.
It's the best somewhere, but it's usually always good unless you go to Tony Slice. Anyways, next question. They're gonna love me.
Yeah. If you could travel through time
Uh-huh.
and meet anybody, who would you visit?
Woo.
You're one person you
Oh,
get to visit
man.
them.
That is a tough one.
Yeah. But it's instant noodles, so you got to answer quick.
Oh, okay.
I don't really have a time machine, so
Okay.
we can't, there's not a lot at stake here. But
I'd love to meet Thomas Andrews. So
expound.
you know who Thomas Andrews is?
But keep going.
Okay, so Thomas Andrews is the lead architect of the Titanic.
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, so basically he's just this genius, works at Harlan and Wolff. You know, he's just this really great architect, and he has this like mind for beautiful furniture and stuff. And obviously, the Titanic was beautiful. You know, all those ships were, and a lot of people know that he went down with the ship, and so it's one of those things where it's like I'd love to meet him, but by the time I'd have a chance to talk with him, the questions I'd want to ask are just too late because I want to know what was going through his mind as the Titanic went down,
Like
this masterpiece in human engineering that he had built went down.
What he was thinking.
I'd love to know what he was thinking.
That's a great question. I love that. Or that's a great answer. I love that.
Yeah,
That's
I'd
fascinating.
be very interested.
I think I'd want to ask him. So, what's Billy Zane like? But that's. I think that's. I'm sorry, that was dumb.
Oh, that was good.
Let's
The
see.
Titanic movie's great.
Man, I tell you what, Billy Zane in Titanic is.
He's so good.
He might be like as good as Darth Vader. He's one of the best bad guys ever. He's
We
just
were
like,
just talking about the Titanic, and they're like, "It's so mean that she threw the thing," and I'm like,
Oh.
well, he's evil." Though.
that movie is garbage. But Billy Zane in that movie is brilliant.
He's very good. He's
just
very
like,
good.
Hello, I am evil McEvil Man.
That's
Yeah.
Dr. Evil from Austin
Like
Powers.
let me murder this puppy.
Is he doing this now?
Hello, I'm very evil
I
now.
have a child.
Oh, I'm self-absorbed. Oh, those poor people down there. Let me set them on fire.
I feel like I'm watching Titanic
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
what it's like. Yeah. Oh,
You're so good.
oh, Billy Zane is so good. They should make
Really
Titanic
good.
2, The Return of Billy Zane. Let's see. What's the most terrifying creature in the natural world?
Oh man. I want to say anything from Australia, but I know most of those myths aren't true.
Alana's from Australia. Is she terrifying?
No. I mean, like the creatures.
Okay, all right.
Of Australia.
All right.
But I know that's like a myth. I don't know. Yeah, spiders.
Spiders
are
are
probably
good.
the worst.
Yeah, I was thinking I might change that. If we do the Halloween episode, we might do pockets full of spiders instead of zip, because just fill your pockets.
Am I not the first
No,
spiders?
we're just going to take the guest and we're going to fill their pockets with spiders and then see what happens. What do you
Real
think?
spiders?
Yeah, just live
Okay.
spiders.
Well, I'm glad I'm recording now.
Yeah,
in September.
No, I don't think we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Who was your first kiss?
Amanda Medina. She's sitting right there.
You married the first person you ever kissed.
Yes.
Mark. And you guys have been together how long now?
13 years.
13 years. That must have been.
She took her headphones out. I can hear her laugh.
That must have been some kiss.
No.
No? Was it a bad kiss?
No. So basically, my friend was in the room, and we were like gonna kiss, and then but we were like hiding, and then I totally missed, and kissed her on her cheek, which I mean that was a classy move, right? So then he left, and we were like, all right, he's gone, and yeah, went for it.
Whoa. There you go. And you
Nailed
married her.
And then I married her the next day. No.
Well, it can't have been too long. You guys got married when you were like 7, so something. Let's see. Cake or pie?
Pie.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
Hershey's
always.
cream pie.
Oh, that's really good.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Fruit pies are good too, if they are doused in whipped cream, though.
Oh, that's an interesting addition.
Right.
I like that. I do like whipped cream on my pie. But, by the way, I should make fun of you getting married young. I got married young, too.
All right.
Yeah,
Young marriages.
Yep. What's one question you have for me?
Who are you thankful for?
We're doing that one later.
Let's see. Let's see. Like a lightning round question?
Just ask me a question.
Okay.
You only get one.
What's your favorite part of the day?
Oh, that's a great question. My favorite part of the day is when I tuck my wife in at night.
There you go.
I have tucked my wife in at night almost every night for the last 15 years. But
She's thinking right now. Good answer.
But no, it really is just my favorite moment of the day.
Sweet.
Tucking her in.
Awesome.
She usually goes to bed before I do, and I like it.
That's because you're working all the time.
Thank you so much for coming on, Mark.
It was super fun.
Where can people follow you? Check you out.
So my Twitter is @Mark_Medina, and I do IGN stuff. My name's not on a lot of it, but I do Naomi Plays every Wednesday with Naomi Kyle.
Yeah, you guys do Let's Plays every Wednesday from 1 to 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So if you are interested in that, it's super funny. She's super funny to stream with.
You guys have great chemistry. I like you two together.
She's the funny one. I just sit there. She's awesome.
You're the straight man. That's like Leslie Nielsen and all his movies. He's the straight man. Everything zany is happening around him.
I keep it serious, and she's just a goofball.
Yep.
So
I am
super
serious.
fun.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley. There we go. But hey, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your comments, leave on YouTube, for your ratings on iTunes. Thanks for the subscriptions. Thanks for the help on Patreon. Patreon.com/Jared Petty. We throw that out there. Patreon.com /Jared Petty at the end of every show. But your generosity keeps us going. So thank you very, very much for that. Hope you enjoy. And until next time, bye-bye.